We're now going to learn about viewing the audio waveforms, and we've kind of looked at that and talked about it before. So within your audio, it's these little peaks and valleys. The first thing that we're going to want to do is in our timeline, we're going to want to drag this divider line between audio 1 and 2 to make that taller and bigger so we can see those waveforms a little bit better. And then you're going to want to zoom in. So I'm using the plus or the equals key on our keyboard to zoom in. And then I'm just going to hit play on my computer, and I want you to watch as the playhead goes over these different peaks and valleys. When it's real low here, he's probably not talking, obviously, or kind of breathing. And then this audio mixer over here will be going up and down. And the clip mixer, because we're just using one channel, audio 1 right now, 2 and 3 have been muted, so you can kind of see that they're there but grayed out. Audio 1 is going to go up and down here on the decibel reader. So
I'm Dwight, and I'm producing a music video with a crew here.
So again, you can see this one is bumping up and down, and that's what we're seeing over here as well.
We flew in and we wanted to sit down with them. We'd never met them before, so we just want everyone to kind of be on.
You see how it was real quiet there, right here. Yeah, so she's hardly saying anything. That's why the waveform is really small right here. So when you're trying to figure out where exactly to start sound effects, start music, you're going to be scrubbing through here and listening, but you're going to be able to use these waveforms also to pick out areas that you need to mark. If there's a pop in the speaker or the microphone, you know, you might see it as a real tall spike here, and it's nothing that you want, so we'll learn ways of editing that out as well. The next thing we're going to look at is the audio track mixer. This is just the clip mixer up here in the what used to be the source, or still is the source window, but we also have an audio audio track mixer. To get to that, you can clearly click on this tab, which is probably easiest, but if you're into keyboard shortcuts, Shift and the number 6 will select that for you. So here's this tab, Audio Track Mixer. Looks fairly similar, but we now notice that we have a new addition. We have the master. So if and when these other 2 and 3 audio tracks are turned on, the master is going to be a compilation of all of them. So as we're playing it now, let's go down here. We see both audio 1 going up and the master audio running. All right. Next thing we need to do is prepare our music tracks. So in a previous lesson, we had muted and locked audio tracks 2 and 3. We need to unmute them and unlock them. So I'm going to come down here to audio track 2, unlock, and unmute. Unlock, 3, unmute. So you see those grayed out lines are all gone from there as well. So now as we scrub through our timeline, we're going to hear music. And the first long music clip in audio 2 is the instrumental version of their song, if we make it. And then the last 2 clips at the end are the vocal version in audio 3, and we'd already done some editing to only need that vocal setting. So let's go down here. I'm going to zoom out to get, so I'm pressing the minus key on my keyboard, and I'm going to move ahead to audio track, to where audio track 3 comes into play. And notice as I'm scrubbing how almost all of these are in play now. We're seeing a lot going on here. So we are going to select this second clip in audio 2. The one below it that's playing is the singing, the lyric version. This is just the instrumental version. And we're going to right click on it. So we're going to go up to this option. So by default, a clip in the timeline is always enabled. That's why when we chose it, the check mark was next to it saying, yes, it's on, it's enabled, which is the default. So we're going to choose this to, in effect, uncheck mark it or disable it. It remains in the sequence, but it's just kind of turned off. It's not going to render. So when we get to this point, I'll turn down my volume, Nothing here is going to happen. It'll just go straight down to track 3, which is the lyric version. Let's see. As we scrub through, I'm going to click home here. We're going to very quickly see that there are some points where the music is way too loud. So I'll play it right now for a little bit. How about if I get ahead to where there's actual speaking? Here we go. What you saying, Dwight? What you saying, Dwight? So obviously that's a problem. We can't hear him. So we need to do some tweaking to hear our audio interview. So we're going to learn different ways of fixing that. Let's see. All right, I'm just going to quickly point out some of the built-in audio effects within Adobe Premiere. So over here in your project panel, you have an effects option, and I twirled open. This is what it probably looks like for you. This is where we found our transitions and video effects. There's also one called audio effects, and if you twirl that open, you can see you have a variety of topics: amplitude, modulation, reverb, some specials, stereo imagery, whatever. So there's a bunch built into here as well that you can do a lot within Premiere. You don't necessarily have to pop out to Audition. Track-based effects, I'm going to go back to our track mixer here. So when track-based effects are applied, they're applied to the entire track, not just a clip, and you can get to them and apply them to the track as a whole by this little arrow thing here, show hide effects. If we twirl that open, we can see more confusion here basically, but there's a little down arrow up at the top here, and you can see many of these, well, the same options that we saw over here in our effects panel are here. So if we want to apply a reverb, a surround reverb, we would click on it here, and that would apply it. So click back over here somewhere and get this to close out. There we go. So I just wanted to point those out, not that we're going to use them, but there are a lot of tools directly within Premiere for you to work with.